Welcome, Shanté. Movement
Thank you for
Maestro.
having me. There we go. People actually know that name. Thank you for having me. This is dope.
I have wanted to have you for years. Let me just tell you that, because there is something, there's not many people that actually do this, honestly, that really radiate through this little handheld device known as a phone. And you do that. And I just feel like it must be such a treasure to be in your orb of energy. So
Yeah.
I've been wanting to have you on here for a while.
Yeah. I will graciously and gladly take that amazing compliment. Thank you.
Well, you're intelligent, you're funny, you're fun, and you're really giving practical skills to so many people. So I want to, there's Orlando, that's okay. I want to backtrack because you're a physical therapist like me, and like me, you're doing a little something different with your degree. So tell us about your early years leading up to PT. Did you always know you wanted to become a PT?
No, and I think many of us don't. We just know that we kind of want to stay involved with movement. I think a lot of us were like, I want to be some sort of like doctor or orthopedic surgeon. That was my thinking, was I want to be an orthopedic surgeon. And then I tore my ACL, and the only kind of interaction I had with my surgeon was the fact that he actually happened to be my basketball coach. But if he hadn't been my basketball coach, you won't even talk to them for 5 seconds, right? And like maybe for a consult, and then like they put you under and you wake up and like you see them one more time. And I was like, I don't know if I really like that. So I went through all of college and was still thinking I'm going to go to med school, but I wasn't 100% sure. And then my guidance counselor was like, what about physical therapy? And I was kind of like, maybe, because I had spent a ton of time with my physical therapist. It was actually like a big deal. Like I was a big athlete in the town, and like them getting me back to playing and everything like that. And I was like, oh yeah, like that would be cool. And I kind of went to PT school because I decided not to go to med school. And yeah, that was what the early days looked like.
That's exactly my thinking too. I went in, mine was going to be neurosurgeon. My dad was an orthopedic. So I love orthopedics, but I thought I wanted to do neurosurgery. But I didn't, I was like, this is going to be the lifestyle, everything about it. So
Dude,
I kind of, lifestyle. Well, if you've lived with a surgeon, that's all you have to know. I'm like, how can I? And PT is like definitely, it has so many attributes that are way better because you actually form a longer relationship, a more intimate relationship, and then your own personal lifestyle.
100%.
So you came out of PT school, and did you go right into a clinic? What was your path there?
I did. I wound up getting a job with not a clinic that I had done an affiliation with, but one of the people that I had done an affiliation with. She went and became director at a different clinic, and I got in with like that kind of band of clinics. You're very much your traditional kind of like outpatient ortho PT mill, which I think when people are like, oh, they have feels about PT, I don't think it's the best model, but you can learn a lot from it. I know, kind of the same. You just flipped a script with, the skill set that can be drawn from PT, and like I will die on that hill that physical therapy is the best first career. And I also went into it like you, kind of for the safety net that was there. I was like, I know I'll always have a job, but my life doesn't necessarily have to be ruled by that job. And I was like, okay, I'll figure that out, what exactly it looks like as I go. But right out of school, went and got a job at one of the PT clinics, and basically hated it. Like, I was just like, is this what I signed up for? Like, I was in New York City. Also went to NYU, stayed, because you stay after you are done with school, right? Stayed, and it's just, it's super fast paced, and it was an insurance-based clinic. So you're seeing people every 20 minutes. And I was kind of like, I love talking to the people and the patients, but also, am I helping them, or are they just getting better because they've been in for 6 weeks, 2 times a week, and they're not doing the thing that they loved? So I was very, very quickly actually disenfranchised with the model, and was like, do I stay? Do I go? And that was probably the only time in my career that I let my student loan debt kind of dictate what I did. And I was like, well, I got to stay because I need money. So we're staying with this trajectory. And I went through like a few different other clinics, and actually wound up in pelvic floor physical therapy because I just wanted to learn. Like, I wanted to be helping people, and I wanted to be learning. And I was not learning at this, the first place. And I wasn't sure if I was helping people. And I was like, well, at least let me be interested in the thing that I'm doing. So I went and got my OCS, and then went and got a job at a pelvic floor PT place. And that was kind of like the first 5 years of my career.
Wow. So after you paid off your student loans, is that
Did
pretty
not
much
pay them off. Don't be crazy.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I know everybody out there, everybody that wants to go to PT school. I have to tell you something interesting, just for anybody who is in PT school or afterwards, or what I found out through my admissions, the tuition people, whatever they're called, financial aid, is that at Duke, at least, that's where I went, they had a grant program that if you worked in PT for a certain amount of time, then your loans were forgiven. And that was amazing. Like I was like, so essentially I had to work in it, I think for 5 years, and then all the loans were forgiven.
That's amazing that they have that.
They should have that everywhere. But
they should have that everywhere.
Probably
That's
somebody
amazing.
that was really impacted by PT donated money for that specific reason. So I always tell people, dig in there because I'm sure there's something. And because student loans can suck.
That alone, dude, like I have many thoughts. I'm not angry about student loans because like I made the choice. It's fine.
Yeah.
But that's killing our profession. Like,
oh my gosh. Anybody that, you talk about college and then student loans, and then graduate school is like a whole new level of those loans.
Insane.
And it just takes so long to chip away at that.
For the earning potential and like realistically, like you're still very young when you like make this decision. I by no means am I like, don't go to PT school, but I will tell people I'm like, go to the cheapest one and don't have $1 zillion of debt. But the earning potential for like the traditional route of physical therapy is limited in comparison to what the loans are. And I'm like, this is holding back the profession because I think that what we do is, it is, in my opinion, the best first career. And anytime, I don't, we've talked about this a little bit earlier, like I don't really do PT anymore. I haven't treated since 2018. But anytime anything is wrong, whether it's with me, my friends, or anything like that, I know what to do. That's huge. It's like an invaluable tool, an invaluable skill that we have. So I think if people are like, I think I want to be a physical therapist, by all means, pursue it. But if you can learn from my actions and maybe like don't get as much debt, that'd be even better.
That's exactly what I try and do in my teacher training is like, I'm just going to teach you what you actually need to know for the most part. There's always going to be areas that you need, more assistance in. But, it's this unspoken, it's like the elephant in the room. Nobody learns about their body. It's crazy. Right? We're with our body our entire life. And then we have to go to specialists who are then given a certain amount of time to give us, which is becoming more and more chipped away. Like you said, maybe you're lucky if you have 20 minutes with a person.
It's wild.
But it's really wild. We could go on and on about that, but I want to talk about how you pivoted from that. Like, how did you decide to, and how would you describe? I mean, I could describe what I think you are, but describe what you're doing now and how you got there.
Totally. So now I do online business coaching for health and fitness professionals. Basically, I teach them how to use social media, namely Instagram, to build profitable online personal brands. Yes, I can work with businesses, but personal branding is like my forte, the thing that I'm the most excited about. And the way that I did that was largely a journey of exclusion. And I think my whole life has been a journey of exclusion, meaning figuring out what I don't like and then being like, I have to stop doing this. Like, I got to figure out how to not do any more of this. I never really knew specifically what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to live in California. I knew I wanted to have a Jeep, and I did get those two things. But otherwise, I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. So
this is so important for so many. I tell this, my daughter is a sophomore in college, and she's like, I don't know if I should do this if it's going to really turn into a career. I'm like, listen. Most people don't really know what they're going to do, and it's terrible that we're telling people that they need to kind of line up in some trajectory as opposed to listening to that inner self. Yeah.
I'm like, give yourself the options and dive in fully. I'm that person that when I like something, I love something, like I'm all in and I'm going to like learn the most about it. And I think that also expedites the process too, because you're not like half-assing in, like a little bit of this. I'm like, I can get it done in 2 years and be like, oh, no, I hate that thing, and I can switch. But it was a journey of exclusion and being like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I never liked treating. Like, I can do it. I'm good at it, but you don't have to monetize all the things that you're good at. And so I love assessment. I've always loved assessment, and I'll figure out problems. I'm like, cool, and here's a solution. But then when you're treating, you have to like babysit. And I'm like, but also just do your stuff. And they're like, can I get a massage? And I'm like, but also just do your stuff. So I didn't love that side of things. So I looked to work to cut it out. I was like, I don't really like treating side of things. I really like assessing it more. And so in 2015, I basically fell into the online space. I had started doing CrossFit because I was done with running. Had done some marathons. I played soccer in college. Running was a very easy, like, next thing to do. I did some marathons and I was like, this is not fun anymore. It's too far. And then, like, I had a bunch of clients, right? This is like, no one's chasing me. Like, I don't need to do this. I had a bunch of clients doing CrossFit and I was like, I want to learn more about what they're doing. I have familiarity with lifting. So I got into CrossFit, and in getting into CrossFit, I found Instagram. Basically, I was like, I want to learn more about, like, why can't I do this? But that person who looks like they shouldn't be able to do it can do that thing. Like, what is going on? And the easiest place to learn was actually social media. So I started using social media as to consume, and very quickly saw that there was, like, only a handful of people that were putting content out. It was like Wad Doc was one at the time. Kelly Starrett was putting content out, and I was just like, this is cool. I could do it too. But it was never because I wanted to build a big business, because that wasn't a thing. An online business, like, really wasn't a thing. It was just like, I want to share what I know, and what I was looking to do was help, right? So I was, like, realizing at my job, I don't really like treating. I don't really like a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. Can I work to cut that out, and can I look to fill it in with things that I do like doing? I liked sharing. I liked teaching. So I started showing up on social media. I wound up getting a job with a company called Rock Tape, and I got to teach their stuff around the world. Like, I dove all the way in. I became a lead instructor. I got MVP my second year there. I was like, I'm in. I'm bought in. Here's another way for me to help people without treating, because I don't really love the treating. And it's all assessment. Like, I got to figure out what intervention needs to be done. I have to assess you. So getting to work with other providers in that capacity. And the kind of tie-in to what I'm doing now was I was working for Rock Tape. I was teaching all around. I was building a social media following, not with any intent of doing anything. It was literally just like, I have followers. Like, it wasn't a thing, right? It's 2014, 2015. Like, it wasn't really a thing. You just, like, put pictures up.
Right.
And then I used that following to launch my own course, because I was like, hey, there's a problem here. I don't like that Rock Tape is not providing the solutions that I want. Like, there's a lot of, like, interventions, but was kind of missing the assessment portion. Maybe I can make my own course. I have a following. So I did that. And again, not treating, because I didn't want to be doing that. And I kind of phased treating out by 2018. And any time that I would teach a course for Rock Tape, and they would specifically, like, the host would specifically bring me in, they would always want to go to dinner, to the point where when people started asking to go to dinner, I'd be like, do you want to leave your job? Is that why you're asking? Time and time again. And so then I started having this kind of, like, business coaching, like, behind the scenes, and just, like, it was for free. Obviously, initially it was just, like, having these conversations, and more people started asking me that. And I just started solving those problems, and eventually I didn't bring that side of the business to the front actually until 2020. I was doing it since about 2015, 2016, but COVID really gave me the ability to do it, because I had made that list again of, like, what don't I want? And I didn't want to travel anymore. And I had done it for 5 years. I was living out of a suitcase, and I was like, I'm just kind of tired. I don't want to do this anymore. And COVID was like, here. And I was like, I'm going to take it. And we're doing all things business facing now. And that was the last time that I posted about hip flexors or hamstrings. I don't miss it.
This is amazing. First of all, I'm so curious, because you're so charismatic. And so it seems that you just really drink in and metabolize the information that you're interested in. So marketing was probably something, but, like, business marketing, that as PTs, we're not given that. And that's why you're providing, you've got that gap filled. But how did you how did you cultivate that sense of understanding to the point that you could teach it?
Totally. I think at first it was leaning on the skills that we all gain as physical therapists, right? People don't want to, they oftentimes think of marketing. They think of marketing and advertising and selling as the same thing. And then they think of a used car salesman. They put it all in this, like, bucket. And I'm like, actually, when you get a new client, you're selling yourself. You are marketing your services. You're branding your personal business, your personal brand. We don't, like, actively think of it, but we all do it. Every single physical therapist. Sometimes we can hide behind, the company, but we all know, I don't want to say we all know, but most of us know that I didn't like sharing patients. I was like, this is my patient. Like, I know they can go see that. I actually found it really annoying when patients, if they had bounced around. So in my opinion, if any of you listening to this are like that, you are branding yourself, you are marketing your services, and you are making a case for why this person should stay with you, or why you can how you can help this person. And so I think we all do it inherently, instinctively. Some people maybe are a little bit better than others at it. But I think it built on that, of just having years and years of practice with that. And then reading some marketing books, namely like Seth Godin's probably like my favorite. And like they all of his books kind of say the same thing. So just pick your favorite and then you could read that. But he has one that's like just about marketing. And I was like, this is exactly what we do. Right. And being able to like make the connection, which I think us as physical therapists, we're really good at that. We're great at seeing connections. We're great at seeing patterns. We're great at seeing pattern interruption and being like, that's different. That doesn't fit. So doing that, but linking what we do as physical therapists and linking what the marketing world says. And I'm like, cool, it's the same. And then I think the third piece there is just having the confidence to be like, it is the same. I think people really, they can see connections and they can see things are the same and they can believe it. But sometimes they're like, I need 10 years of like practice before I can like say that I think this. And I was just like, people are asking me this question, so I'm going to help them. And then you kind of outwork your insecurities and you build that body of evidence that, yeah, I can help people. And then you productize a service. And now I'm doing this for a living. But it started like kind of small, which I think a lot of us have had just in different fields, whether it's like, okay, I'm a personal trainer, but like first I trained my mom. Like, okay, cool. And you get that evidence that like you can help people, and then you help like your neighbor, and then you help like a stranger, and it grows from there. Same for what I did with online business.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously we want people to go and get involved with you, but tell us a few things, like what are the biggest mistakes people make in marketing, especially if they're marketing themselves as a brand, or and then maybe some like,
totally,
this is so dummy easy that you're overlooking that could really help you.
Love it. I'm just looking down. I have a huge whiteboard. I have 1 million, but I have one on the desk, so I don't forget what I want to say. So the first thing is like defining marketing. And to me, marketing is just storytelling, right? Marketing, storytelling, branding, how you make people feel, the two different things. Most people think of branding and they think of brand identity, right? Brand identity is like your logos, your colors, your fonts. They are important, but to me, branding is everything. It's how you make people feel, right? You can tie in from the second part there, it's a promise about what people are going to get when they work with you. But marketing, it's the storytelling. Everything that you do is marketing. How you show up, how you look, how you speak, the decisions that you make, how you interact with people, how you shake their hand, all of the things. Which again, is why I think the physical therapists are just can be so natural with this. If they don't think of it as like, I got to sell them a car at the end of this, because we are so aware of the importance of listening to someone and listening just to listen, and what it means to like have your hand on somebody, and how having your hands on someone affects what they feel, right? I think when anyone that's treated somebody's neck or had their own neck treated, you get this. If someone has like unstable hands and shaky hands and they're nervous, you feel it. And you're like, I don't feel safe with my neck. Whereas if someone has hands and they're just like, I got you, I'm confident, you're like, okay, I can relax, and this person like is going to take care of me. We all understand this inherently. We do it. Yeah. I'm just putting words to it. So I think the biggest mistake that I see people make with marketing, intentional marketing, when they're on social media, is they're trying to be someone else. And I get it in the beginning. It's okay. Like in the beginning, you're going to show up and be like, well, I'm going to just like kind of look at the people that I've already done and people I respect and admire. And I'm going to try to just like learn from them and kind of emulate them a little bit, which is totally fine. But there has to be a conscious decision to say, I'm also going to figure out how I want to do things and how I want to show up, and how showing up like, in the way that they do, but still being me. That is super, super important. And probably the only thing that I would give as a tip for people is showing up authentically.
Yes.
Be yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember when I started social media, I was really resistant, which I think a lot of people are.
Oh, yes.
Because it felt very performative and like a little narcissistic. Like, here I am. We used to
like
joke,
socialized
here I am going to the bathroom.
narcissism.
Here I am doing this.
It is.
And I just decided I'm just going to be like how I was talking to somebody in front of me. Oh, you don't, like when you hinge at the hips, you're not doing this. Let me show you how to do it. And it just felt really that felt a lot more natural. So I think that intuitively, even if you think you need to be somebody else, you don't. Just be who you are, because ultimately, if somebody liked you and you weren't being yourself, they're not going to stay that long anyway.
Dude, it's not sustainable. You're either gonna. I've seen people build an audience behind it, and then they're just like, I hate this. It's not me. I have anxiety showing up. I feel like I have to do this thing, and I'm like, well, you shouldn't have done that from the beginning, and now's your chance. Every day is your chance to change that and be like, no, this is who I am. For folks, I love that you said about the narcissism piece, because it is true, right? That there is this air of like, look at me. That's exactly what it is on social media. And how you come to terms with that and you're being okay with that is going to be individualized. One of the reasons that I love Instagram as a social media platform is because I think it is one of the best tools for building trust with your audience because of the familiarity aspect. So we know that you will build trust faster in person. And I was talking to my guy, Dr. Sean Pastuch, about this. And he had a great term, and it's because of the in-between times. So if you were at a physical therapy, if you're a client or a patient and you're at a physical therapy clinic and you have your same PT all the time, but then that PT goes on maternity leave or goes on vacation or something like that, because you're in person with these other people, you also see the other therapists. You see their in-between moments. You see what they look like when they're going on break. You see what they look like when they're just walking around or interacting with other people. Right? You see them when they're not interacting with you. That builds trust. We don't have that on social media unless you intentionally show it, which is where those in-between moments come, which is where the stories come of like you showing your life. That's, to me, the importance of it from a business perspective. And it's not to what is the word that I'm looking for? It's not to manipulate how they think about you. It's to just show them who you are, because they don't have that opportunity because you're not in person, right? They can't
I
just
love
be
that.
Like,
I love that. I think it's so true. I think it's so true. And in that being really, really honest about, that's once I got past the, like, I don't need to do this in any way except it's really true to me. It felt like people will be like, oh, social media is such a drag. And I'm like, I don't know. It gives me energy. And
exactly,
maybe right? I'm like, I like it, I mean, because I take what I want and I leave what I want and I give what I want. And it's like,
the best.
I'm not being any different. It's just literally like, I know I could do better lighting and all that. But for the most part, these are the things they can, little things. Yeah.
That right there.
So be yourself, number one. What is another big misconception? In terms of, here's where I'm thinking. People that have a product to sell and they have, whether they have a brand page, their own page that is attached to it. I mean, we all have these things. What are some suggestions that would be helpful for people that are starting off or in it and just don't know how to bridge that kind of gap between being, offering free content to then asking people to pay for it?
Love it. Because at some point you do have to ask for the sale. I do think that the longer that you wait to ask for the sale, the more likely you are to make a sale. I think that people are like, I want to have an online business. And I'm like, the best business plan is show up for 4 years and don't sell anything. Provide value every day. And people are like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay, well, second option is show up and
is pay a lot for ads.
It's building trust. Like I started this online business unintentionally, and I think that was like, timing is everything, right? And I entered the online space in a time when it wasn't really a thing, so I wasn't like influenced and be like, oh, you should do this. And I had a job that I loved, and I was traveling, and like this was just for fun. I didn't burn the ships or anything like that. I didn't need online to work, and so I waited 4 years to launch something because I didn't have anything to sell before then. I was just like, I was selling, if you will, my rock tape courses, meaning I would like put up like, hey, pay this other company and come hang out with me. It wasn't going to me. And then when I finally sold my first online product, which was Breathing with the Maestro, it was an online course, it was a $25,000 launch, like, because I had waited and I had all that trust there. So for people that are thinking about bridging the gap here, it's a Simon Sinek quote, right? Don't find people for your product, build a product for your people. So you want to show up first and provide a ton of value, and you want to hear what the problems are that people have. So first it's show up consistently, and we can go into that. It's like what consistently looks like. Yeah. But show up consistently, provide value. Step 3 would be listen. And it's probably the most important, second most important, whatever. We can put them side by side. Equal importance. Listen to what people are saying, right? People, I do think it's backwards to create a product first and then go online and be like, I'm going to sell it. And I'm like, but to who? You don't know if that's what they actually want or if they have that problem. Whereas if you flip it and you show up authentically, sharing everything you know, teaching, solving the problems that you believe your people have, and then you listen when they're like, yeah, I do have that problem. Yeah, I do have that. Yeah, I do want help with that. Then you productize that. You make that thing, and actually the ask becomes so much easier. I think people, because of social media, right? Because there are so many people out there that are business coaches and marketers and they want to teach you stuff, we tend to think when people are first starting off that these people who are just starting off, I should say, think it has to be perfect. They think that there's a wrong way to do it. When I will tell you, because I do business coaching, but I have people that I know that literally sold, and we're talking over $30,000 at a launch. And they're selling this thing through emails, using Gmail, and like PayPal or Venmo. And it's not this big ornate people. I was like, do you have I was working with this woman and I was like, do you have a sales page for this? And she was like, no, I know I should. And I'm like, you sold $30,000 worth of this product. And she was like, yes. And I was like, I believe it, because she had the trust from her audience and she had shown up. She provided so much value that people were like, yeah, I trust you. You're not going to like take my money and scam me. So if you're listening to this, you're just starting out, you show up, you provide value, you solve problems, you listen to what people are saying, like, yeah, I need help with this. You create that thing. And at that point, now the ask is just, hey, I have this solution. And if you would like it, it's in exchange for money. Whereas before it was in exchange for attention, because people are paying you. They're just paying you in attention.
I love that. I say this a lot too. When I have my own kind of business coaching, but it's nothing like this, but just like giving people advice. And I'll always be like, transactions are not just money. You have to get over that. You have to do things for free. You have to go places and show up for free, because the transaction is they're showing up for you.
Huge.
And you might get their email, or you might get introduced. Like, these are all, like, I've done so many things for free.
So many.
You know, a lot of people go into this like, your time is worth, and I'm like,
dude,
no, that's not right, actually.
No,
because
it's not.
Transactions shouldn't just be financial. They should be much more.
No.
And we have to look at that as, and what makes us feel good too. If we're just trying to sell to make money, there's probably some people who can do it, but it's really tough.
That is really tough. I love that you highlight that with people. Like, I would contend that time is people's most valuable resource.
Absolutely.
Like, you think about the things that you buy and the way that you do things. I'm like, I'm much more apt to donate than I am to like donate my time. I'm like, it's kind of hard. Can I send money somewhere? Like, so people, they have this like, oh, but I want to get a financial transaction up front. When in reality, if you can get someone to give you their time, dude, that's huge. And then you actually, make good on that, and you provide them with so much value. You will see the financial return on that. Maybe not even from them. They'll tell someone, doesn't matter, but you'll see a financial return on that down the road for sure.
Okay, so speaking of time, what I've noticed, because we've probably been on social media about the same amount of time, and it's we hear about these attention spans, and it bothers me when people are like, oh, people only look at like a 6-second reel, and I'm like, what can I say in 6 seconds that I find is going to be valuable? And it's really hard, so I've just kind of resisted, and I'm sure people.
I'm not mad about that.
Yeah.
It's okay.
You're not mad about it being short. So tell me.
I'm not mad about you resisting.
Oh, resisting. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm mad about your resistance.
Because, because I just want to be like, whether you decide to stay on for 40 seconds versus 6 seconds, I can't, I'm going to be shortchanged. I don't feel good about it. Like, so.
Totally.
What are your thoughts on that? Like,
totally.
Do you think that people really have that short attention span, or we're just making it worse by talking about it?
I think that we humans have the same attention span, about 7 seconds or so. It has not gone down. So that people have more things vying for their attention.
Yes.
People will watch, I don't know if you have kids that are older, but if anyone that has kids that are younger, they'll watch YouTube for 1,000,000 hours. They will watch Twitch, which is a streaming service, and they'll watch other people play video games for hours. Hours! Not 7 seconds. Hours.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think that it has gone down. I think there's just way more things vying for our attention. And so to that end, this is kind of circling back to what I was saying a little bit earlier with consistency. When I'm working with somebody and they're like, I want to build a personal brand on social media, I'm like, cool, post every day. And I don't tell them to post every day so that they can go viral. tell them to post every day so they can build a habit out of this thing. Like, the fastest way you can build a habit is to do the thing more consistently, do it more frequently rather. So people are like, well, do it once every never. It's going to take that much longer to build that habit. So people that are nervous about seeing their face and hearing their voice and nervous about just being online, you get over that by doing the thing. There's no like mindset, like mantra or something. Like you have to just go do it. And so the faster you do it, the more frequently you do it, that exposure is real, and you can get over that. So when people are like, I want to build a brand, cool. I want you to post every single day. Part of the additional value of posting every day is that you start to see how much real estate there is. So I always want people to start off by showing up in a way that feels good for them, in a way that allows them to actually do this thing. We know the best exercise is the one that you're actually going to do. So same for Instagram. What are you actually going to do? What's going to keep you on the platform? Amazing. Start there. When that person has established that habit, and they're like, cool, I can post, I can create, then we get to talk about quote unquote strategy. And the strategy here is, do you want to play the Instagram game and kind of lean into what the algorithm, quote unquote, is favoring? If people are like, no, I'm like, that's also fine. We take radical responsibility and understand that we may not see the numbers that somebody else who's playing the game sees. It's not right or wrong. Their way is not better. I just want you to stay on the platform and use it. Be in the game long enough to actually win it. In terms of posting every day and realizing how much real estate there is, when that person, or if that person's like, you know what, yeah, kind of, I'm like, I do want to like look at trying to push my reach. Okay, well then you have to play the game. Like this, it is what it is. And that's where it's like, okay, well then you're posting every day at 7 posts. One of those posts could be this 6-second reel that is intended for reach. And it doesn't need to be this deep, profound thing. And no, you cannot explain a deep concept in 6 seconds. You can't do it. But you can convey an emotion or a sentiment that people understand. And then this is the beauty of Instagram, dude. We have 2,200 characters in the caption where you can teach something that's a little bit deeper if you want. And that's just one out of all 7 posts. When I first started using Instagram, I was posting actually twice a day. So I'm like, there's room, one of 14 posts that can be this kind of like not as deep and profound.
Yeah. Yes.
Totally cool. But again, that is like later on, once people have established the habit, built the habit, they're showing up authentically, they're kind of over any kind of insecurities. And they're like, all right, I'm ready to layer on some strategy. I'm ready to try some things. I'm like, all right, cool. Then let's try this.
Okay, so there's lots of social media specialists. How do you find out like what is going on in Instagram? Like algorithm, we need to do this. Like, do you do research on it?
I watch a lot. I watch a lot. So I have a program that I run, and for the Facebook group, I have a moderator, and Karen, she went to the program, and she was just amazing. And I was like, you want to be the moderator for this? I pay her for that. But she's always dropping articles in there, so I can see too, like what's like, it's not like insider scoop, but like any like announcements that, because things drop in Instagram on differently, right? They do like these rollouts, and like some countries have things that some don't. So one, I can read the articles that she puts in there. Two, because I have this reputation of like, you teach Instagram, people will ask me things or share things with me, and I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Let me go look at that now. And then I am on this thing so much that I can just get a pulse. And that's why I stay within the health and fitness space, because it's all the same, it's doing the same stuff. And I can get a pulse on like, what is like, quote unquote, working? What are we seeing a lot of? What does it seem like Instagram is pushing towards? And then I share that. I'm always experimenting myself. I think people are really scared because they're like, oh, if I do this like one post differently, then like my whole thing's gonna be messed up forever. And I'm like, but it's not. You have to post again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'm like experimenting with like different formats. But like you had said earlier, I am at the end of the day always true to what makes me happy. And I'm okay if a post doesn't do well, but I like it. Like I'm fine with
I love that. Yes.
Like it's okay because it's going to keep me on the platform. I never tell people that they need to use cameras, right? Use your phone. It's actually better. The algorithm seems to like that better as well. Like it just, people tend to like it better because they don't feel like it's like produced. I use a DSLR for some of mine because I was bored with the basic posts. I have over 4,000 posts. I was like, I want to do something different. I want to learn a new skill. I want to learn about video editing. So I started doing them that way. Those posts for me typically don't do as well, but I don't care. Because I have a million posts that I can be putting up. I can put this other one up if I want to go for reach. I can put this one up to go find for depth and connection with people, and it will keep me on the platform so I can stay in the game long enough to win the game. So that's how I'm seeing what's working, and I'm doing it firsthand.
It's almost like the stock market. You're like like figuring out. But I'm curious, like even today, like where we are, March 2023, what is different now versus even a year ago in terms of reachability, visibility, all those kind of things? Now we have the wonderful Explorer page. Like, what do you see as different? What is more challenging now than maybe even a year ago?
There's just more people.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing, is there's more people. Like, the best thing you could do if you want to grow an Instagram following is start 10 years ago or 8 years ago.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's really important for people to realize. Like, they see these people with lots and lots of followers, and it's like very few of those made them in the last, say, 5 years. You know,
like, it's been over time. It was definitely easier to grow when there was less people doing it. There is the opportunity for virality now. That didn't really exist so much before, just because of like the type of content that was being put out. So you can go viral now, but I actually don't want that for people early on, because they're like, they don't know what to do. And they also don't typically have an actual brand behind it. I mean, they don't know what their values are. They don't know what they stand for. They don't know what their messaging actually is. So it's actually better if you're going to go viral, like year 3 to do that, as opposed to month 3. Because then you're like, got all these people coming in that you don't actually know what your brand is about yet. But biggest difference is there's more people, so there's more supply, right? There's more people that are creating. There's more people on there that are just like trying to use this for business. There's like there's accounts out there that are just dedicated to telling you what music to use. I'm like, what? That's your whole account? Like, be like, this is trending. It's going to go off. And I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So that has changed tremendously. Yes, there is the possibility of going viral. Instagram does, but there is no rhyme or reason, and there will never be a rhyme or reason, folks, because otherwise you would just do that thing and you wouldn't stay on the platform. Instagram, TikTok, all of these things, they want your attention. They want you to stay on the platform. So they're going to make this one go viral, and then this one doesn't, and this one does well, so that you can't actually figure out what the thing is. So you keep pulling the lever. I'm like, is this the one? Is this the one? Is this the one? So I would say that the possibility of going viral, there's more people, and the emphasis on video is different than it used to be. There's talk that Instagram's going to kind of swing back and push more static posts. Like, for me, static posts do better. So carousels, not static posts, but carousels of like content do better. I encourage people to play around. One of the things that I see is that people will base what's working off of following an account that teaches about what's working. That's not helpful, because they're going business to business, and they are in the business of helping people get more followers. So people are like, yeah, this solves my problem, and I like this. And so this posts have like, a lot of followers, they have a lot of likes, and so people are like, oh, this is what works. When in reality, you need to think about what's your business. If you're going business to consumer, that's different. And you need to look at other businesses that are doing the same. How are they speaking to their people? What kind of content are they putting out? What, format are they putting out is different. The commonality, I just posted about this yesterday, the commonality between these two accounts is that they're solving a specific problem for their audience. That's what you need to focus on.
Okay, so question about this verification. What do you think about this paying for the verification?
Man.
Because like, I'm verified. I'm I just got it one day. I didn't even try. Like, but now I have to pay for it. What is the advantage? What's the disadvantage? What are your thoughts?
I think it's very unfortunate that they're rolling this out. Like, if it guaranteed that you wouldn't get hacked, I would pay for it. Yes. Like, I don't want to get hacked. I'm doing all the things to prevent that. But like, to me, that would be the only thing. But if you read what they're talking about, so they're calling it meta verified, and they're saying that the benefits of doing it is that, like, basically you're paying for customer service. And I was like, what? And
yeah, because you don't get any right now.
Exactly. I'm like, but is it actually going to work? I don't think so.
Who do I talk to? I don't know.
They're giving you that. And the part that I don't like is that they're saying that it's going to help with your reach. And I'm like, that's just like, we know that the platforms ultimately really trend towards pay to play, right? Where Facebook kind of happened and you kind of had to pay and run ads to play the game. And I was interested to see what Instagram was going to do with that. And I think thanks to Elon and Twitter, they realized, okay, we can make them pay to play with this thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's very unfortunate, mainly because, and this is from like, I had the same issue with ChatGPT, which I love. I love it as a program. I think it's great. But as soon as you put a paywall up, then you have a certain demographic that has access to it and a certain demographic that doesn't. And when it comes to things in general, but when it comes to like creativity and advancements and progress, I want everyone to be involved, not just the people that could afford to pay for it. I'm like, that is sucky.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. I think that's the fact that they tied it into bigger reach, and I was like, ew, gross.
I know. I agree. I think that, and Twitter did it first, so who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I saw it, and I was like, it didn't go very well at first over there, and I was like, maybe we should like wait and see.
Well, and there's been like a huge backlash.
It's bad.
I mean, you'd think that Instagram as a business would listen to its consumers, and
like,
that seems that no one's happy about it. Yeah,
dude, Instagram is the best at teaching us what not to do as business owners. You know, love on your OGs. Ramit actually sent an email out today about 1,000 loyal fans. If you haven't read that white paper, anyone listening to this, by Kevin Kelly, really good white paper. But like, you can run a viable business having 1,000 loyal fans. Fans aren't people that just clap. Fans are people that actually buy as well. But if you do the math on it, you're like, oh yeah, you could have a viable business. But the big thing there is, and this is what I talk about with social media and building a brand as well, is, and maybe, ties into the question you just asked about what has changed. The numbers have changed. And now people think that like having, hundreds of thousands of followers is normal. And I'm like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Like, focus on the ones that are there. A small account is a phenomenal opportunity for building trust. And really listen to those people. They will shape and guide the business and help you out the most. Instagram is teaching us what not to do, because Instagram is so concerned with continued growth and maintaining market share. So they're doing that and being like, well, we want younger people on. And apparently, according to TikTok, young people like video. So screw you, old people that like built this platform. We're pushing this new thing. I think that's very foolish. And I get it. If you're like, I need everybody, then you're like, I got to try and do all the things. If you're willing to say, I need these people, I need the best people, I need my people, and then you just stay serving them, you could have a viable business for the rest of forever.
And that's like marketing 101. Everybody should know is you shouldn't try and like please everybody. You have to really like, and in a way, the more hyper-focused you can be, it's probably going to help you a lot.
It is, especially on social media, right? The richest really are in the niches. And it's because there are so many people on and the space is so loud. So when people are like, it's not saturated, I'm like, you were lying or trying to sell me something. Like, it is saturated. But can you still do well? And is there still room for success? Yes. But the way that you're going to cut through the noise is not by being louder. It's by being specific and by being repetitive. Knees over toes guy really showed us that. He niched down into knees, and it was like, yeah, he does other stuff. But there's a lot of knees on the internet. When we come from brick and mortar, we're like, oh, I have to like be an ortho PT.
Right.
Because like I have to serve the people that can actually physically come through my door. When you're online with online services, you have a lot more people and have a lot access to a lot more people and can serve a lot more people. And so you can actually focus and niche down, and you will be totally fine, and you will actually be more successful. I think about this a lot when I'm looking to recommend things. I always like to have a person for that. And so even if I'm thinking about the people I'm working with, I'm like, what would you be the person for?
Right.
Like, if I needed a guy that did this, needed a girl that did this, what would that be? And if you're like the person, well, I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this, then you probably won't get recommended.
Right. And you're like, this is the person to go for that hair.
Exactly.
This is the person to go. It's going to help your you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You want that one lane. So is this something you help? I'm sure it is. When people work with you, help them figure out, because I personally, from my years of being in this business, this is the hardest thing for me. It is the hardest thing. It's like I'd rather sit and like, I don't know, I'd do anything else. I'm like the ADD person in the corner when they're like, so here, let's talk about the brand name. And I'm just like, it's so hard. It's so hard.
I help people with this, help them in a few ways. One, so like I do run an Instagram coaching program. It's 6 weeks long. And on call number 1, we start with that. And to me, it's been my experience that the best way to help someone is just to ask them to start in a simple direction. That's it. I can't be like, you must pick this and you can never talk about anything else ever again. But I ask them like, hey, let's try to get focused on the problem that you solve and who you solve it for. People try to do it backwards, and they're like, oh, well, I work with like women that are 35 to 50. And I'm like, so if someone's 34 and they show up, like, you won't work with them? And they're like, well, I would. And I'm like, okay, so don't talk about that just yet. Yeah. What's the problem that you solve? If it's like hormones for women 50 and older, okay, then like the number can make sense. It depends on what the problem it is that you're solving. And so we spend the entire first call talking about that and just pointing them in a direction, because that journey of exclusion is very real. So I'm like, try this jacket on and walk for a bit. And then if you're like, it doesn't fit and I hate it, cool, then you know you don't want it. And then we can go into a different direction. And this is, again, why that consistency and continuing to show up is helpful. But it's just like pointing them in a direction as
I love that.
point.
So you do that as with individuals.
I do it within the group coaching program. I do that if people want to do one-on-one work. I also have a free PDF, like, I don't know, 8 pages or something like that, called nope, it's not called that. It's called the FT3. That people can, we go over that in the call as well, but it's free on the website.
What does the FT3 stand for?
First this, then that. So it's not great marketing in terms of like branding, in terms of a name, but I didn't design it as like a front-facing thing, so I didn't care. But it's called First This, Then That, because oftentimes when people go into the online space, they're looking to pivot, they're looking to shift what they're doing. So it outlines, it has like a bunch of questions about what you're currently doing, this, and then the direction you want to go, that, and then says, can you marry these two? Does it make more sense to stay in this thing? Does it make more sense to just take the leap and go into that? But it outlines it. You want better answers, ask better questions, typically ask more questions. And so it has like a bunch of questions just to have people like write this down. Because one of the things I also do see is that people will go into the online space and they want to do something that they don't have expertise in yet, which is fine. But I'm like, it's going to take a really long time because you got to be way ahead of your people. So if you're just learning this as you're teaching it, well, then it's going to take longer. And I want to write this down and show all of these things. And then you get to pick, actually, does it make more sense for me to take these skills that I already have, but do it in a way that feels good for me?
I love that. Oh my gosh. Well, I could talk to you forever, but I
fun.
Want other people to really reach out to you. So where are the best places they can find out about these programs, these offerings, one-on-one and in group, and obviously on Instagram? Well, all this will be in the show notes, but tell us anything else.
Instagram is the easiest. I'm the Movement Maestro. Maestro is spelled Maestro on Instagram. And anytime I give my handle, I like make sure to say a little note with that. Don't let naming something hang you up. And I was like, it's not the easiest to spell, but we'll figure it out. Like, I just get started with things. You're going to bring the magic to the brand. You're going to bring the magic to the name, to the logo, and things like that. Just get started. So the Movement Maestro on Instagram, the Movement Maestro on my website. If you shoot me a DM, I will get back to you. If you shoot me an email, I'll probably never get back to you. I hate email. Just going to be honest. So would love to connect in the DMs. Let me know you listen to the podcast. That'd be awesome.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. You are just like really
this is awesome.
A wealth of knowledge. And I think a lot of people need this kind of guidance and they just don't know where to turn. So this is wonderful for anybody. We have lots of movement specialists who listen, physical therapists, yoga teachers, etc., who really need some marketing, branding, Instagram, all social media help. So thank you very much. I think you helped a lot of people today.
Thank you for giving me a mic and sharing me with your people. That's a big deal, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. And everybody that's listening, as always, I'm pulling for you.